Are you always coming up with ideas? Do you marvel at successful business owners? Do you hate being told what to do? Ever take things apart just to see how they work? Are you a dreamer? If you've answered yes to any of these questions, this podcast is for you. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Enclave with Kevin Wortham, the podcast that focuses on building, maintaining, pivoting, planning, and investing in you, the entrepreneur. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Pro Tapes and Specialties is the world leader in tape manufacturing and specialty conversion with over 40 years of experience. In addition to our pro brand of high-quality specialty adhesive tapes, we provide contract converting services that help improve your profitability, streamline your supply chain, and reduce inventory cost. We offer the most complete range of converting capabilities in the industry, such as cloth tape, double-coated tape, specialty tape, paper tape, masking tape,
vinyl tape, carton sealing tape, adhesive transfer tape, duct tape, foam tape, electrical tape, filament tape, foil tape, reflective tape.
And the tape just keeps on rolling. Visit us online today at www.protapes.com or call us at 800-345-0234. Pro Tapes, it's just how we roll.
Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Entrepreneur Enclave, Life's Coming Attraction. I am your host, Kevin Wortham. Today, I will not disappoint you. My dear brother James McCormick is on the other line. James, talk to us.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Pleasure to be here. As you know, you and I go back many years back.
Absolutely.
And I've always appreciated the brotherhood, the friendship, and also the mentorship. In fact, if you remember, you used to work me out at Trenton High School.
Oh, listen, so I don't mind talking about the working out part, but let's not talk too much about Trenton High because, I went to Notre Dame. I'm just messing with you. It was all good.
I was saving that.
Yeah, save that part. Yeah, I don't want too many Trentonians to know that I was using their facility to get big and to beat up on them too as well.
But yeah, it's definitely a pleasure to be here, man, and thanks for having me.
Yes. So we're going to get started, man, because it's been a while since we've had an opportunity to talk and to catch up. And as we were prepping for this, I realized, man, you've got a lot going on. So I'm going to give you this platform to talk about all of this. So I want to start with high school, right? You go to Pennington Prep, correct?
Actually, I went to the Hun School.
The Hun School. Okay, I'm sorry for the Pennington Prep people out there. I'm sorry. Hun School. I'm messing up all big time today. So you're at the Hun School. What were you studying? What were your interests at that time?
So I started at Hun in 7th grade.
Yes.
Hun is a STEAM prep school, private school here in Mercer County, and
Yes.
I actually left Faith Christian School in Hamilton in 6th grade to go to Hun. They wanted me to come in 6th grade, but I got recruited to play basketball. Also had an academic scholarship, which I'm very proud about.
Yes.
And in addition to that, I was also a musician. So I kind of had a lot of things going on even back then. And they wanted me to start in 6th grade. I ended up in 7th, and I went all the way through 12th and had an amazing experience.
Wow, that's wonderful. So you're at the Hun School, and so most of us were thinking about, what do I want to do once I graduate? Were you thinking that time anything entrepreneurially at the Hun School?
To be honest with you, I wasn't. There wasn't really something that I was thinking about back then necessarily, but I definitely was of the mindset of taking advantage of not only my interests, but also my abilities and my gifts.
Yes.
And the thing that I can remember specifically was the fact that I kept almost pinching myself, even at a young age, that I was in so many different worlds all simultaneously.
Yes.
Born in Trenton, New Jersey, raised between Trenton and Hamilton. So I saw a lot of different walks of life. And then all of a sudden I'm going to church in North Philadelphia.
Yes.
So I'm starting to see, a little bit beyond where I'm actually at
Yes.
day to day. And then Hun was an entirely different environment in some respects. But at the same time, it was one of those things where I was just comfortable in every situation, which I was very thankful for.
Now let's stop right there. What made you so comfortable in all those different worlds?
Anytime I'm ever asked this, I always have to start with my family.
Okay.
Starting with my mom and my dad, I always give them the bulk of the credit,
Yes.
rightfully so. In addition to my entire family, they put me in so many different situations and worlds that it made me rich at a young age because I saw everything. I
Yes.
saw inner city, I saw wealth, I saw middle America, I saw rural. My brother was an actor growing up, so I was kind of helping manage him along with my mom. So I was in New York half the time as well. So I was just always put in a position where I'm exposed to things.
Yes.
And then I would come back with that experience, and next thing you know, there's no room I could walk in and not feel comfortable and also not know somebody.
Yes. So remember early on, I said, when did you think about your entrepreneurial experience? And you just said that you were managing your brother. So that would be your first foray into your entrepreneurialism. What year was that? Which year was that?
So this is probably, I would say I'm probably going to be in 9th to 10th grade.
Wow. Okay.
And I would, and when I say manage, I wouldn't say like I was more so there along with my mom, making sure he got to his appointments, navigating the streets of New York, taking
Yes.
him into the auditions. And, but those experiences like put me in so many different, worlds and met so many different types of people at a young age that at some point as I got older, nothing really fazed me in terms of, celebrity or someone in the entertainment world or
Yes.
someone in the business world either. So I was
Yes.
very, very comfortable and confident at the same time.
And interesting, you speak so eloquently about this, but I want to share this with you, and I know you already know this. You were networking with the who's who at a high school level while you were at the Hun School, because a lot of those kids were from all over the world, literally.
Absolutely.
And
And that's
so-
what I loved
yeah,
about
yeah.
that experience.
Yeah.
It was, I was, but the beauty of it was, it worked both ways because, I was seeing things at a young age that would prepare me for life.
Yes.
But I was also sharing my experiences with other people as well, because if I was, I was in the basketball circle, I was an athlete, but then I was also a musician.
Yes.
And I'm kind of blending these worlds. And now my basketball friends are learning about music, and
Yes.
my music friends are learning about basketball, and my academic circle is seeing all of that. So I was kind of like almost like the puppet master lifestyle even back then.
I love it. I love it. I love it. There was a time where we didn't think about all the things that we were being exposed to, but nowadays it becomes so critical to our success and to our upbringing. And I often say this to a lot of young folks. Anytime you get a chance to move or to go somewhere and get that other level of exposure, because that's education, but that's beyond the borders, like education beyond the borders. So I certainly do appreciate what you've gone through. And then, of course, now that you are a grown man, you are certainly reaching back and making those connections or making those reconnections as to what's going on. How can we connect at a different level? So I know you appreciate that now.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So you graduate from Hun. Where do we go next? Where's your next stepping stone?
So interestingly enough, I had a 2-year experience at Valley Forge Military College, and I do want to emphasize college because there is an academy. I was one of the youngest people in my high school class to graduate.
Yes.
And I was, never in trouble or anything like that. But I don't even know why my mom presented that option to me. I really can't tell you what made her do that. But essentially, the college was designed for a lot of athletes who were on the verge of going to another level athletically.
Yes.
And that was the initial attraction, I guess.
Yes.
It ended up being a great academic experience. I did play basketball for 2 years. at Valley Forge and got recruited to play at Drexel. Got injured, so I wasn't able to do that. But Valley Forge was a 2-year experience that I'll never forget. I had no complaints whatsoever.
Okay.
Everything went well with that. And then I actually ended up going to Drexel University in Philadelphia.
Yes.
For the rest of my bachelor degree.
Wow. Because I know I'm going to mess this up, but did Chris Dolman come out of Valley Forge?
I believe he did. I will tell you, Larry Fitzgerald came out of Valley Forge.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Another great Pitt alumni, and I want to say Chris Dolman as well.
I do. I think you're right. I think you're right.
I want to say that. Okay. So now
and ironically enough, Larry Fitzgerald and I ended up working together, down the line when we're both, he's playing for the NFL and I'm working there, but I'm sure we'll get to that. But,
yeah, we'll get to that point. But yeah, that's all right. So now you find yourself in Philadelphia and you're prepared for inner city life because that's a part of who you are.
Absolutely. And in addition, I happen to have been at that time going to church every week in North Philadelphia at the old Connie Mack Stadium in North Philadelphia.
Wow. So it's like coming home. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was, very comfortable in terms of going to Philadelphia at Drexel.
Got you. So you finished Drexel. Where do we go from there?
So Drexel, the funny thing about that is I didn't have any specific plan whatsoever. In fact, I do remember at the time the Sovereign Bank Arena was just opening in Trenton, New Jersey, as you know.
Yes.
And I was actually looking to see if there was any opportunities from a marketing or a business perspective, and I was trying to utilize my background in sports. I remember taking pictures and sending it along with my resume. And that did not work out. But what did work out was I got a call from someone that knew Troy Vincent, who was also, a Trenton native. And I ended up working for Troy at his company in Chambersburg, Elticon.
Yes, and I think that's where you and I made the connection. I want to say, right?
I think that's it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he had a financial firm, and I was the youngest member of that firm in business development. And had a great experience there. And that was really where it kind of catapulted my entrepreneurial and my lifestyle.
Wow. So how long were you at Elticon?
I was there probably, I want to say 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
And I actually began as a front desk advisor.
Yes.
I did everything in the office. My mentality, and I always share the story only because I was the tallest. I always say I was the tallest front desk receptionist ever. But there was actually a strategy behind why I took that position, is because I knew that particular business was owned by several professional athletes.
Yes.
And my mentality was, if I could get around some interesting people, I can make something happen. And that's exactly why I took the job and ended up rising to become a partner in the business development division. And the rest is history. Wow.
So the company closes after about 10 years, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And then you move on to which waters?
So Troy, and I always give him credit, took me on as a little brother. Everywhere he went, I went, game day included. And kind of became his right hand guy. Yes. And so that put me into a lot of circles where I met a lot of people, and I began stacking those contacts and utilizing those relationships and seeing how I could bring value to them in different capacities. And so I actually left the company and became the oldest intern at NFL Films at the time.
Wow.
For free. So if you can imagine leaving
wait.
Yeah, we have to slow down on that one.
wait. So it's a wonderful opportunity, but you become the oldest intern, leaving a paid position to do something for free.
Not only paid, I was a partner at the time.
Wow.
So that's what made it such an interesting move, because here I am, I'm a young guy, but I became a partner, a very trusted member of the team. And I'm going to take this opportunity and become an unpaid intern at NFL Films.
Now, what was some of the other things, James, that you were thinking about as to why you thought this was a good move to do an internship with no pay. What did you say? What was the thought process?
The thing that I started to realize was that the relationship for me was the currency.
Okay.
I felt like I could go anywhere and get a paycheck. I was always going to be able to take care of myself. But if I can get myself in certain rooms and certain circles that were very difficult to get in,
yes,
then that would give me a currency that I could then leverage for a lifetime. And I started to understand this concept, I think, at that point, because it is a risky move, but my mentality was, if I can get in that room again, I'm going to make something happen.
Yes.
And that's exactly what started to transpire very shortly.
And I like what you just said. Your currency was your ability to build relationships. I love that. I love that. Now let's go slow. What did that really mean?
For me, I looked at it not so much. I always looked at it more so of what could I offer someone else, as
Yes.
opposed to why do I want to be connected to this person. And I talk to young kids about this a lot, but
Yes.
I looked at NFL films. I already knew about them, but I did a lot more research in terms of understanding that they were the preeminent sports production company, especially obviously football,
Yes.
in the world. There was a gentleman who passed away, unfortunately, who a lot of people know, Steve Sable, who
Yes.
ended up becoming a mentor of mine, which I'm very proud about. A lot of people don't even know my story, so I'm really thankful that you're giving me this opportunity. But a guy like Steve Sable, who changed football, ended up becoming this guy from Trenton, New Jersey's mentor.
Yes.
And so he took me under his wing right away, taught me a lot of things in addition to what my role was.
Yes.
And what I started to be able to do was realize that, now that I'm building these relationships and I have all these different interests and parts of my life, I can start to blend those things together. And I ended up being the one taking different tapes to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
And obviously realizing, well, it would be a shame for me to be in the Philadelphia Eagles offices and not share my relationship with Troy Vincent.
Yes.
And that started to catapult. And next thing you know, they're asking me, do I want to start in PR? And we have to go to training camp right away if I agree. And so that's something that I'm really happy about, even though I had to end the internship at that point midway.
Wait, hold up, man.
Yeah.
Man, boy, this is wonderful. So wait. So you're using your internship to take these. So while you're intern, you take these tapes down to the Eagles. The Eagles say they're looking for someone in their PR department, right?
Yes.
And they said, "Are you ready?" Okay.
They knew me from working with Troy and being around in general.
Okay.
But yeah.
Because at that time was he still there or he had retired?
At that time, he was still there, I believe.
Oh, okay.
He might have been traded to another team at that point. Or,
yeah.
Right.
Okay. Wow. So they say, "Are you ready to go to camp?"
And I had to backtrack one bit because I do want to share the story. And the reason I'm sharing it is because I like to encourage people to begin to think along these lines. Is one of the ways that I was able to, ingratiate myself to Mr. Steve Sable is he actually needed a ride to a production shoot.
Yes.
And I volunteered to take him and drive him. But the reason why I was so eager, in addition to him being who he was I knew that he was interviewing John Elway. Wow. And my cousin, who was also a Trenton native, Vance Johnson,
yes,
played with John Elway. Okay. And so my mindset was, if I'm there with Steve Sable, I'm going to meet John Elway. I'm going to have an opportunity to share with him who my cousin is, who played with him as a receiver.
Yes.
And so it's those kinds of things that I started to do over and over again, finding those connections and finding those lanes, as I call them, and merging them all together and making myself invaluable. So that's something that I constantly do over and over again in different ways.
I love it. So how long are you at camp with the Eagles?
I'm there the entire season,
yes.
A little over one season with the Eagles, and it happened to be the year that they went to the Super Bowl the first time.
Get out of here.
I was there with T.O. and Donovan and Brian Westbrook and Hollis Thomas, all these guys who are all, these are all friends of mine to this day. but I was there during that time, Andy Reid coaching. And so the fact that I was there that year, to me, was always a big part of my story, because the fact that they were so good, they had national media coverage.
Yes.
And me being in PR, not only am I in the locker room every day with these players that, a year or so ago I was just watching on television, but
Yes.
now all of a sudden I'm around the media.
Yes.
And I'm around the
You're facilitating the media because you're PR.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
So just the fact that it was that year was so amazing, because, on a weekly basis, I'm seeing Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, and I'm actually it's facilitating their access to the players.
Yes.
So it was a really interesting year, to say the least. In fact, I actually made the Trentonian when we were landing into Jacksonville. There's a picture of me right next to T.O. getting off the plane.
Wow. But I want to tell you something, and I'm going to share this with your mother and father. They raised you to be so humble, because, man, I didn't even know this, right? And this is why I love you so much, because this is power personified, but you're very humble. I love it. I love it. I love it. Because I oftentimes, I see you on Facebook and nobody really knows this story. I love it. I love it. So thank you. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for teaching you humility. Wow. No, because again, with all the names that you are around, excuse my language, you certainly could be an asshole by just name dropping and, saying certain things, but you are not that. You are very humble, and that is going to take you a long way, brother. Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate that.
No, come on. I mean, sometimes you got to sit back and you got to thank your lucky stars and say a prayer that God made you who you are, to be a humble man, a man of humility. Because the average cat out here wouldn't even sit back. They would be posting every now and then about pictures and who they're hanging out with and who their friends are. Like, don't do that. But very humble.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
Definitely my style. But yeah, so it was definitely an amazing year in every way.
Yes.
And that actually led me back to a full-time opportunity with the same organization, the NFL. And that began my journey full-time with the NFL, starting in player relations
Yes.
For NFL Films. So that was just almost, an immediate master's degree in the business of sports.
Yes. Now, when you say player relations, what was your actual responsibility?
So when I got hired full time with NFL Films, and for those that are listening, NFL Films is 1/3 of the components of the entire NFL. So it's the production arm along with NFL Network, and essentially we were responsible for anything that you saw primarily on national television,
Yes.
certainly NFL Network. We were responsible for all of those productions, documentaries, interviews, shows. Highlights and all those things. We were doing all those things right there in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And so all of those shows from inside the NFL, Showtime in the NFL, Showtime Sports, NFL Network, ESPN, that was all done by my department as far as all of the interviews.
Wow.
So there's things to this day I can't turn on NFL Network without seeing something that I was involved in.
Awesome. And I know that just gives you thrills and chills to understand that, to see that.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
And then how long were you with the NFL?
I was there my entire career up until about 5 or 6 years ago. I ended up working in entertainment marketing for the league office in New York City.
Okay.
So again, pinch yourself, here I am, guy from, Mercer County, New Jersey. And all of a sudden I'm in the same room as Roger Goodell, Jim Brown. It was very surreal in a lot of ways, but it was also very rewarding in others as well. So that was my entire career: entertainment marketing, player relations, licensing, production, talent management, and so forth. So
wow. And so when you're in New York, were you commuting every day, or you were staying in New York at that time?
Absolutely, I was commuting. Right now I live in Bucks County.
Yes.
So I was getting on the train, Hamilton Station, commuting every day to New York City, and coming back 4-hour total travel on a daily basis.
Wow.
I had a bag. I would always have a bag packed in case I would be away for a few days or a week or so.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, at that time, my daughter was just born, and that's kind of when I began to think about, what I wanted to maybe transition into next.
Yes.
To accommodate, my new family situation.
So where were you at that point where you and I were working out at the Trenton High gym? Were you still with NFL Films?
This was probably right before NFL Films, like
okay.
on the tail end of when I was with Troy.
Okay. Yeah, because he's also, we want to give a shout out to Troy because he's been instrumental in doing some fantastic work for the high school in terms of refurbishing and building out their gym, as well as the Father Rocco Park and that whole football sports complex. So Troy, thank you so much. And you're always welcome to come on the platform so we can talk about your success as well, Troy. So you're doing great things, but you're moving in such silence, man. When do we beyond this podcast, when do we tell more of your story? When do you tell your story? Because I think
I'm actually
go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying when do we tell your story? Or is there a book coming out? What's going on? What's going on?
That's something that I've thought about. Been
Yes.
asked to do that twice actually now.
Yes.
The timing just hasn't worked out. But I am working on something that I'm very excited about in the media space. Something that you and I can maybe talk about in detail privately. But I'm definitely excited about sharing my experiences that span, the NFL, and then actually I kind of made a switch into fashion, including Louis Vuitton, which I'm happy to discuss. But
I don't want to get into that because not yet. Because there's another space that you're occupied. Because I think when you and I circle back around, you've got your real estate license.
Oh yeah, that's been.
We forgot about that, right? Oh my God.
Yeah, it's definitely something in the works right now that I'm excited. I'm actually building right now in the media space that I'm really excited about, and I know it's going to be a game changer. Something that I can only say is unprecedented.
Okay. Wow. Locally, if I may ask?
Everything that I do, I try to do it, globally. So this is something that I'm definitely looking to share with the world. Okay. And it's going to be in the media space, and it'll be a nice window into my world, my mind, and also my experiences. And I want to include other people along that ride. So I'm really excited about it, and it should be fun.
Well, I just want to say much success. I know you will be successful. I mean, you are so humble. So this needs to happen for you, brother. I need it to happen for you. Well,
I appreciate that.
So, but let's go back. Was I incorrect or correct to talk about your real estate license when you started getting into commercial real estate?
Yes. So I've been licensed both in Pennsylvania and New Jersey for at least 15 years.
Okay. Wow.
And that's a funny story as well, because the gentleman who was responsible for me getting licensed, and this is a very undertold part of my story. I was working in marketing for a international golf developer.
Yes.
Who I met during my time in sports. And so I was his director of marketing. He paid for me to get my license, got me to school, doing deals in Belize, golf courses in Belize. And that was really how I got my license, starting in New Jersey and then also in Pennsylvania.
Wait. Because I'm hearing you, and I'm like, what? Wait. So the guy is asking you to travel to Belize to help him
Correct.
Build out golf courses.
Correct.
Wow.
His business was buying land and also refurbishing golf courses. And we met as I helped him get some deals done with NFL players for some of his properties. And next thing you know, he recruited me on as his director of marketing, and real estate was a big part of his business. And so he said, in order to work together, we're going to get your license. And I looked at that as another opportunity to get another branch on the tree, so to speak, and got New Jersey and Pennsylvania. And again, as I always do, I try to elevate and try to think outside the box and push myself and said, you know what, everyone's doing residential. I want to do something different, and I want to learn about commercial. And I was able to do that with a global company called Ferry Van Ness, based in Bucks County. They recruited me, and I was able to add that to the story.
Wow, that's a lot of story, man. So let's take a break.
I was able to do one of the biggest deals in Bucks County in my first year. So I'm really
which deal was that?
So there was I'll just say it was an automotive business that hadn't changed hands in over 100 years.
Yes.
And I was able to be involved on both sides of the deal, bring the buyer and the seller together, come to terms, and make it happen. And they're actually still in business today at their new location. So I was able to help a gentleman expand his business, and also help someone transition out of a business that hadn't changed in over 100 years.
Wow. So let's take a break for a quick second. If we were to create a movie, James, who would play you in this movie?
That's a great question.
Who would play you in this movie?
You know, this is going to be a strange answer maybe, but even though we're in 2022, I feel like the movie would have to be made in a time when Miles Davis could play it.
What? Wow. Okay, now wait. Okay, wow. Tell me, why would you pick him to play your part, or the part of you?
So there's three gentlemen. I have a couple different role models.
Yes.
My mom, my dad, and my grandparents.
Yes.
In addition to aunts and uncles, but my dad is always number one for me in terms of my inspiration from a menswear lifestyle perspective.
Yes.
My mom as well. Obviously, my dad being a man, me being a man. Miles Davis is right after my dad as far as who inspires me to this day in terms of this whole lifestyle thing this thing of ours called lifestyle that I'm very passionate about.
Yes.
But even though obviously he's older than me, I feel like the movie could only be done by him.
Okay. That's interesting, man. That's interesting. Wow.
Avant-garde.
Yes.
Always elevating, changing, his industry several times over.
Yes.
Just someone who is just always elevating. And
yes.
I feel like that's kind of how I live. My dad to this day is always inspiring me to do the same. So, and my mom as well. But Miles Davis.
I love it, man. All right. I love it. So now we've got the movie made. We've got someone of a Miles Davis-esque personality playing your part, the part of you. What is the number one takeaway that you want the movie audience to see when they see this movie of you, about you? What's the number one takeaway that you want the audience to see?
Just the hunger for elevation in every way of life.
Okay.
The absolute hunger to want to know more, to want to read more, to do more, and to not want to do something over and over again, and just to constantly be elevating and finding truth and seeking truth about yourself and others and life.
I love it. Okay. Oh, man. Shoot. We'll make this movie now. All right, Brother James. So we've got the real estate license. We've got a movie coming out soon. No, they stop. Hey, but listen, from your lips to God's ears, it could be. And when do we turn the corner? And when do we get into the fashion? Because that's what I'm seeing you do a lot now, the fashion. I love it. When did this part of you come out?
So this was always there.
Yes.
I think my dad he's the first person who, without me realizing, was honing my taste level. And
yes.
people will hear me say that all the time because I'm I'm very passionate about the concept of a taste level.
Yes.
And I was seeing my dad wearing the Birkenstocks, which are really popular now. He was doing that back then. He was wearing the Wayfarers at night before it was cool.
Yes.
You know, a lot of my friends' parents, you know, they were having normal cars, but he was driving a French station wagon called a Citroën.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes.
And listening to Miles Davis, Nina Simone, reading the New York Post, Village Voice. My dad was the guy who was showing me lifestyle before I even realized what it was. My mom, in the same way, just on a different vein. She was more on the cultural side, the
Yes.
arts, music, Wynton Marsalis,
Yes.
so forth. So academically, so the combination of those two were really beginning. Wearing a suit and tie every day at school at Hun was also obviously a big help. I remember distinctly saying, you know, if I have to wear a tie and a shirt, I might as well look good doing it. So I was borrowing my grandfather's ties, and next thing you know, I started developing my own style and appetite for that. So it was always a part of me.
Wow. Because I see you on Facebook now. Let's talk about the Facebook page that you have, and what does that page entail?
Are you talking about my personal page?
The luxurious page.
Oh, the Luxury League. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, that's basically me curating inspiration. So
Yes.
anything from architecture to style to business, but I encapsulate all that by just saying lifestyle. So anything that I see going on in the world that I find interesting, that's something that I put on Luxury League. I try to educate as well. A lot of brands that people are familiar with are doing a lot of amazing different things, and I try to share those unique stories with the world through that page.
Yes. So how would you, James, best describe yourself? You're like a throwback, you're like a Renaissance man. How would you best describe yourself?
I'm a lifestyle connoisseur.
Okay.
Everyone calls me the Chief of Luxury.
Yes.
Chief is my nickname since a kid from my dad. I am a curator. So yeah, I would just say I'm a lifestyle connoisseur.
Okay.
You know, anything that has to do with style, fashion, spirits, travel,
Yes.
you know, architecture, anything that is good or enjoyable is something that I'm usually involved in.
Now let me ask this question, and I'm probably gonna mess this up, right? Everybody uses the word lifestyle, right? Or everybody uses the word trending lifestyle. What's the difference between what you're promoting, what you're showcasing, versus some of the stuff that we see out here?
I know exactly what you're saying.
Right.
I actually agree with that. And I think that's part of what I'm so excited about. And
Yes.
I call, you know, my experiences have been unprecedented.
Yes.
And I'm just super grateful for those things. And I feel like the things that I've been able to not only experience, but also be a part of.
Yes.
And think about, you know, a guy from where I'm from, you know, working at the highest levels of the NFL, also, you know, being a part of LVMH, which is the biggest luxury brand in the world. To me, that gives me the license to showcase things that previously were not, you know, something that people were not aware of.
Yes.
And that's basically what my whole entire brand is all about. It's about showing you, you know, I know you like that, but try this.
Yes.
See if you like that, you know. And next thing you know, getting that trust level to where, you know, I become the ultimate source of, okay, let's see if it passes that test and that standard. So I think the difference between what I'm doing is based upon the difference between my experiences than a lot of people have had.
And I think, but also I think your approach is very tasteful, and it's very low key, right? It's not over the top. Like, look at me, you know. It's almost like they've got to be close to you to understand the lifestyle that you are presenting. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely, and that's exactly right. It's and that's the beauty of what I feel like, my lane is. And I
Yes.
feel like everyone has their own lane. And I feel like my lane is more about once you get up close and you realize, oh, wait a minute, those aren't the sneakers I thought they were.
Yes.
Or those aren't there's a detail on there that I didn't realize. Or
Yes.
now I see what, the differences it is. And it's more of a, if you know kind of thing.
Now
Intentionally.
the fashion and the watches that you showcase, how does that work? When do you decide what to wear and how to wear it? And is it some type of licensing agreement you have with the company?
So the beauty of what I've always been able to do is I've always been able to mirror anything that I do entrepreneurially
Yes.
with what I might be doing day to day as far as working for someone or a company. And
Yes.
I happen to work for an amazing company called H1912 Vintage, which is owned by Hamilton Jewelers, which originally was in Trenton, New Jersey.
Yes.
And for those that might not know the significance of that, there's probably, everyone's heard of Rolex. There's a finite amount of what we call authorized dealers
Yes.
of Rolex and other Swiss brands. And Hamilton Jewelers is one of the oldest in the entire country, and they're right here in Mercer County.
Yes.
So this is a company that's been around since 1912. And, for me to be able to be in the position that I am with them as a brand ambassador, I have the ability to do sales, marketing, social media. And it's a real blessing because I'm on the front lines of a level of timepieces that the majority of people don't have access to.
Yes.
So it gives me the opportunity to learn at another level and to also share, as I've always done, with anyone who has an interest, something that they might not be aware of.
Yes. I love it, man. I love it. Wow. And so how did you develop your own style? Because style could be subjective, right? How did you develop your own style? What were you feeling when you put two pieces together, like your watches and your shoes and your pants? Where's that style coming from?
That's coming from just being inspired by the world.
Okay.
It's coming from me making, a left one day instead of always making a right.
Yes.
Putting on some music that I'm not familiar with. Just putting myself in a position to always be challenging who I am and figuring out another level within whatever it is that I'm into at the time. And so I think the combination of those things, traveling, seeing how other people are living, seeing what other people are doing, reading different things that span a lot of different subjects matters, that all contributes to my inspiration. And I'm really just expressing that through, a piece of garment that I'm wearing that particular day and having fun with it.
Yes. Yes. Now, I always do this with all of my guests. 5 years from now, 3 years from now, we're looking at a crystal ball. What is Brother James doing?
5 years from now, I'll have my one of the largest media luxury firms companies in the world.
Wow!
Not just black owned, but
yes.
A media platform that's going to change the game and be something that people refer to as when things changed.
Wow!
That's literally what I believe, and that's literally what we're going for.
Okay.
We're not doing anything small. We're not trying to make a couple waves. We're trying to literally shift
yes.
How things are done in the media space and as far as the luxury world. And that's what Paradigm Luxury is all about. It's all about changing how you view luxury and where you're getting your luxury cues from.
I love it. And you know what? And you because I know something about you and because I'm listening to you now, I believe it. Wow. It's not over the top. It's low key. It's realistic. But because I know you, I'm like, okay, 5 years is up. It's here. It's not like pontification. It's this. I'm speaking my reality into existence now.
Right.
I love it, man. I love it. Wow. So for the entrepreneur that's out there, what would be some of the motivation? What would be some of your motivation that you would want to share with them that could be motivation or encouragement?
I would say really take a lot of time by yourself.
Yes.
That was always a big thing for me, still is to this day.
Yes.
I remember getting into the sports world. There was a lot of Friday nights I was spending at Barnes & Noble's, writing names down and cold calling people. And in another level, there's a lot of time that I actually need to spend by myself, and I call it research and development.
Yes.
Reading magazines, being inspired, watching documentaries, and finding ways to take my vision to a whole nother level. I think there's a word that I hate personally is the whole influencer thing. And I always say the difference between what I do and what others do is I'm not an influencer, I'm a tastemaker. And you can't follow a tastemaker. You can only be inspired by them.
Wow.
And so I think for other people, and I'm only bringing that up because I know that's a hot button topic, and I know a lot of people out there on social media are trying to do different things, and it's
Yes.
all good. But my thing is for anyone is to find the lane that speaks to you.
Yes.
Try to find lanes that are not being, saturated at the moment, and be
Yes.
courageous enough to, create your own lane, create
Yes.
your own trend, so to speak. But that will be my biggest advice to people is to find their lane.
I love it. I love it. I mean, I got to always ask this question too. This is the entrepreneur enclave. So we always talk about the business plan. With this major project that you're working on and with some of your other businesses, did you ever sit down to create the business plan?
I did. I felt and still feel like there's always tweaking that can be done
Yes.
and should be done,
Yes.
which I'm always trying to address. But I was able to do that years ago through another friend of mine and really kind of map out what it is that I saw myself doing and how I wanted to build my own personal brand.
Yes.
So that's something that I'm really thankful for.
Now, once you've created the business plan, how often are you going back to review the business plan?
I'm an ongoing kind of person, so I think it's something I'm just constantly paying attention to.
Okay.
And adjusting to some extent.
Okay. And I guess within that vein of the business plan, who would be your primary demographics that you would want to go after in terms of this brand that you're creating?
If there's a category for intellectually curious,
Okay.
that would definitely be who my target is.
Okay.
Specifically,
So
someone who's a global-minded individual.
So that sounds like a new category. So how would we attract this new category of person?
Some of their interests, things that they're interested in. I happen to believe and always seem to connect very well with people who are jazz enthusiasts.
Okay.
For some reason, the cigar community is another example where
Yes.
my personal life blends into my business because inevitably there's some of the most amazing conversations and idea transfers when we're having a nice cigar or having a glass of wine or even listening to some jazz records. But I think starting with their interests,
Yes.
things that they're interested in, I can really target, and I've been able to do that with social media pretty well.
I love it. Now, because you said my favorite word, what's your favorite cigar, James?
I'm still searching for that, to be honest with you. you really introduced me to that lifestyle, which I'm really always grateful for you for. I'm still looking for that.
Wow.
To be honest with you,
Okay.
I kind of jump around a little bit, but
Okay.
I haven't found the one that's just this is my stick.
Got you. Well, you know mine. Mine is the Padron 7000. That's my everyday cigar. And I love the Padron family. I love that brand. So anything within that brand, I am certainly comfortable with. But every now and then, I'll step out and I'll do something else. But yeah, I've found what I've enjoyed.
Nice.
But I'm going to encourage you to do that.
How long did it take you? Would you say to do that?
Ooh, I would say I've been smoking for 27 years. I would say in the past 7 years, that became a brand that I fell in love with. So now I would say 99% of my time that I'm smoking cigars is going to be something from that brand.
Okay.
You know, pretty much like you say, the consistency, right? It's low key, and it's good quality, and that's what you're paying for, right? I've never had a bad stick.
Right.
You know, and I have a lot of friends. I'm quite sure you have a lot of friends too that will, every day that you see them, they're smoking something different, and that's okay if that's what you want to do. But I like my family, and I stay within my family for the most part.
Right.
But again, it's a lifestyle. So to each his own. Some folks like to jump around. I don't, not with any great frequency.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then so I also see that you're doing some pairings with wine and other libations. How did that come about?
I'm really into tequila, particularly.
What? Me too. Me too.
I love fine spirits in general.
Yes.
Tequila's certainly become my favorite.
Yes.
I had an opportunity to actually visit Tequila's in Philadelphia. I think it's 17th Street in Chestnut, maybe.
Okay.
And I was able to be there when the owner was there, and he gave me a tasting of mezcal and tequila, and he was really the beginning of when I started to realize you don't necessarily have to take shots with it.
Yeah.
And you can actually enjoy it and sip it.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've kind of, I don't know, for whatever reason, taken upon myself to educate people, and I'm actually working on my first tequila tasting. It's a private event.
Private. It's not private now.
Which is something that I'm actually going to be doing a lot more of.
Okay.
Sort of best case for me. So I'm going to be doing some events locally and in the region once I kind of get a feel for what I want to do. But I do have a private tequila tasting coming up later this month that I'm looking forward to. And so it all works into the lifestyle of community and connecting with people and finding different interests. And so one thing about something that I do as far as an event is concerned, you're going to walk away from that event having a great time, inspired, and you're going to meet somebody that you never thought you were going to ever meet.
Yes. Now, James, did I tell you you're my friend?
Yes, you are.
Okay. I just wanted you to know, so you hear this in the back of your mind before you send out the invites to the private tequila tasting.
Absolutely.
There is, I'm going to mess this name up, Addictivo.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to try that one, man. They tell you on the bottle, this is super premium sipping tequila.
Wow.
And so I do that, and I do the extra añejo. I mean, so you just need a 2-ounce glass, sometimes an ice cube or a few drops of water to kind of open up the bouquet of flavors. Most enjoyable. That's all. You're not, and this is not shooting tequila. And I've got my other brands if I want to do shots, but this is sipping. This is super premium sipping. Yeah.
Now, would you say you're an extra añejo? Is that kind of your speed? Do you like Reposado or?
No. I'm just getting into the super premiums, because for so long I was at the Padron, Dubel, Casamigo level. So I just started moving. Every now and then I'll do the 1942, I'll do the Don Julio 70,
Yeah.
But that Addictivo extra añejo, man, that's nice. It's oh my God, I love it. I
definitely got to add that to the list.
Yeah. Because I did a picture the other day, and I think I posted it on the cigar networking group, and I don't know if you saw that. Yeah. But that's it. So now,
it's definitely a big part of my entire brand, which I'm really happy about, and it's become a thing. The whole St. James brand in general is actually inspired by Nelson Mandela. That's kind of where it came from.
Now tell me about the inspiration of him. Yeah.
Well, obviously being James, and I'm the fourth in my family, so I said to myself, a lot of people meet someone named James, but I was reading how when Nelson Mandela was in prison, he was writing letters to his family, and there was a book, I forgot the name, that was written that described these letters and had the actual text.
Yes.
And one of the titles of the letters was Saint, and he's described a saint as a sinner who kept on trying. And I said to myself, well, if that's not me, I don't know who else it is. So I said, you know what? And I had a mutual friend of mine who played for the New York Giants, and he said, you know what? You're St. James.
Wow.
And I took that on as a branding technique, but also a personality shift for my daytime persona, and then St. James is the guy who is going to be having the tequila tastings and the private events and so on and so forth. But it's initially inspired by Nelson Mandela.
I love it. So let me ask this question: anyone in the listening audience, how would you best suggest to them that they brand themselves? Because that's another word I have problems with, right? So because again, I think what happens is young folks, they get this notion that they themselves are a brand. And I think that there's a distinction between being a brand and being a brand, right? So how do you encourage a young person, or how do you encourage an entrepreneur, not just a young entrepreneur, but how would you encourage an entrepreneur to build a brand?
I think it starts with getting to know who you are in general.
Yes.
The sense of self concept is something that I'm very passionate about.
Yes.
I think once you have that figured out, everything else should be easy if you're authentic, if you are consistent and you're true to who you are. You're not trying to play a character, because ultimately, I think a lot of people, they try to do a gimmick or so, on social media. Problem is sometimes you end up having to keep up with that persona, and you can't do it even if you tried. So I think being authentic and being true to who you are and being very genuine is the best way to do it. I don't think there should be anything, overly strategic about it. I think it should just be who you are, and that way you can keep up and be consistent with it.
Okay.
Even in my social media, like, I don't follow any social media posting rules. I post when I feel like posting, and inspired to post. So I'm just very authentic and very true to who I am.
Understood. Because see, when I first got into and started hearing the word brand, I was always thinking about the big boys, those products or services that were well established.
Mm-hmm.
And so I still think that now. Is there anything wrong with my thinking?
You're saying the brands that are well established?
Yeah, but I mean, I get young folks that call themselves brands, and I'm saying I don't know. It doesn't feel like you are a brand.
Right.
Is there something wrong with my thinking in that?
I think I understand what you're saying. I would tell you that I believe that whether people want to admit it or not, they are a brand.
Okay.
In what way, shape, or form, even if it's not something that they're literally trying to monetize. It could literally just be, because you remember, I'm coming from the world of branding with the NFL, and so a lot of times I would be conversing with athletes privately and letting them know that, they can't do X, Y, and Z on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then wonder why you're not getting a call from me to make some money off the field on Friday and Saturday. It's all consistent. So I don't think it should be anything where people kind of create something that's not accurate or something that is really true. But I do think that whether they realize it or not, how they carry themselves, how they dress, the things that they say, their work level, their work ethic is all part of what people might think of them when they're not around. And I think that's ultimately what a brand is.
Okay.
Is if I said someone's name, what do I think about? And so that part of it, I do think is true, whether people, are trying to make a brand or create one or not.
Got you. Okay. I got to work through that, because that's probably one of the things that I struggle with. in terms of the brand identity and when do you begin to call yourself a brand. I think I'm really struggling with that part, but I'll work through it and maybe you can help me work through it together. So
yeah, I think it's probably part of the challenge too, and I can see why it would be. Is there's a lot of bad brands out here.
Yeah.
You know, I would definitely be affected by that too. When I think about, you know, there's a lot of people who are saying they have a brand that they shouldn't be promoting the fact that that's what they want their brand to be.
Yeah.
It's not a good one.
Yeah. Brother James, with the time that we have left, any other things that we should know about you, because the platform is about giving you, the entrepreneur, the unabridged opportunity to share your story?
Just, I'm really thankful for the opportunity to speak to you. Like I said, you've always been a great friend of mine, inspired me. I do want to say that I'm very thankful to my family, starting with my wife, Laura, and my daughter, Ella. In addition to that, my entire family, mom and dad, my brother, Josh, my aunts and cousins. So they have really been my inspiration in life and encouraging me and pushing me. So I want to thank them all for all that they've done for me. And I will share this with you before we end the conversation. My mom wanted me to let you know that your mom and dad knew my grandmother, Ruth Boyd, at General Motors.
What?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
So when they found out that I was going to be speaking to you on your show, they wanted me to let you know that your mom and dad knew my grandmother, Ruth Boyd.
Wow. Matter of fact, once I get off this show, I'm going to talk to my mother about that. Wow, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Now, how do people reach out to you if they want to continue this conversation with you, even though it's going to be in your bio that I'm going to also upload as well? But how can people reach out to you as well?
I'd say the best initial outreach would be my Instagram, which is St. James Lux, and that's SAINTE James LUXE.
Okay. Brother
and
James.
They can also follow me, social media and on Facebook as well.
Any parting wisdom for our audience?
I'd say stay true to yourself, have a vision. Time is short, so make the most out of it, and make sure that, relationships are your currency and everything else will fall into place.
I love it, man. I got a question to ask you. If there was a tagline for this episode, what would you call it? Because I like let relationships be your currency. I like that as a tagline. What would you think?
I like that. I think that's fitting. That's fitting. I mean, that's described my entire career to this point.
Yeah. And
it's held true my entire life. It's never let me down. So, relationships to me are essential. The right relationships and being in the right situations, which has always been a key to my success.
Yes. Now, a favor, and I don't want to put you on the spot. I've enjoyed this conversation so much. Would you be willing to meet with some young folks to kind of share with them and give them some more your insight?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You say you name it, and I'll be there.
Okay, because one of the things that we need in our community is we need people such as yourself that have this experience, right? Because they say, I want to tell you a story and you can't make this up. That's like you. I want to tell you this story. You can't make this up. This man has been placed in so many places. You can't make this up. So I know that you have something magical. There's a blessing going on in your life, and I want other folks to hear this so they know that it is all possible.
Absolutely.
If you can kind of humble yourself, be low key, but just understand how relationships can be your currency. And so I love that, man. Yeah. All right.
So you tell me where to be and I'll be there.
All right. Brother James, man, this has been fantastic, right? Normally I'm amped up, but I'm amped up in a low key way because you bring that about me. But this was so informative, man. This was all right. This was all right. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you to stay connected. I'm going to ask you to consider this platform for any breaking news that you may want to share. And let's you and I stay connected.
For sure, my brother. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man. Let's talk and text in a minute.
For sure.
All right, man. Thanks.
That concludes another episode of The Entrepreneurial Enclave with Kevin Wortham, the podcast that focuses on building, maintaining, pivoting, planning, and investing in you, the entrepreneur. We hope you found this episode informative and enlightening. If you have any questions or comments about any of our episodes, please call 609-731-9311 or email kevin@minding-our-business.com. We look forward to joining us for our next one. Until next time.